Thanks for the introduction and thanks for having me here. As mentioned, I've just started with Orpheus Uranium 4 weeks ago, so first time up on stage, so yeah, really excited about that. For those that don't know, Orpheus Uranium had a rename at the start of the year, had picked up some tenure and now own 100% of that tenure, and refocused the business to become a uranium, or uniquely a uranium exploration company within Australia. So really privileged to come on board, usual. So during this time, as I said, I've been here for 4 weeks and it's been a really interesting sort of conversation with people. I've come from working 10 years within a private business, Australia's longest in situ recovery uranium producer, and then prior to that had spent some time over at Honeymoon and also with a multinational uranium exploration company prior. So for me, coming on board was a big decision, and a lot of people ask me why. And I think when I step back and listening to the team at the front here early on, it's the team and the tenure. So when I have a look at it, we've got a really good board that has technical knowledge within the uranium industry and also links to the uranium industry, which is not common. As we know, uranium fluctuates, and as we've just discussed, there has been limitations Australia-wide on uranium exploration. So it's a very unique skill set and very unique knowledge that comes into the business or is already established within the business. And similarly, the tenure. When I have a look at this with that previous work at Beverley, 4 Mile in South Australia and Honeymoon, I looked at the tenure that they had, but given I'm a geologist and geological past, and it's some of the best tenure outside of these known deposits that I've seen. So it was really appealing to come on board and be able to work with a group to start to explore in these provinces and really put ourselves in the best position for success. So with that, the company has been strategic in the way that it's actually acquired the tenure. We look at South Australia and Northern Territory as the 2 jurisdictions in Australia that allow uranium mining and exploration. And also, they've set themselves up to be drill ready, subject to the regulatory approvals and the likes, with these major projects within Frome in South Australia, which is a very uraniferous prospect, or a tier 1 world-class sort of province for uranium sedimentary style mineralisation. And also up in the Pine Creek origin of Northern Territory, which again is another world-class, but for unconformity style uranium. So really exciting project areas with really promising government approval, or the ability to actually be able to produce in these, should you find so. With this, we're working towards getting on the ground for the first time. We've got our Frome project, which I'll go into a bit more detail, looking at commencing drilling imminently out there. We've also got Radium Hill South, which again, we're working towards getting the regulatory approvals and looking at getting on the ground. Being an active explorer, we recognise that whilst we can do work with a lot of the historical data in the office, actually generating that interest in the business comes from drilling. So we want to be a dynamic team and we want to utilise the historic data that's there, but we do want to be out drilling and be active. From there, we've got another couple of projects in South Australia. I'll look at them in a bit more detail in a moment, and Mount Douglas in Northern Territory. So in South Australia, as touched on, we've got the Frome project. So we start to have a look here. For those that have been following the uranium market, and I know that there's a couple of people in the room already having a chat to, we're adjacent to Gould's Dam, which is held by Boss Energy. With these systems, what we actually see is that the mineralisation doesn't necessarily occur as a singular system. When you're actually within those areas, they're really encouraging to start to pick up additional deposits in close proximity, given that you've got those ingredients that you're looking for uranium mineralisation in the source transport trap mechanisms. We extend that to the Radium Hill South project, down here on the bottom, similarly in close proximity to existing deposits. So again, that tenure that the company's picked up and developed puts it at the forefront of being able to explore and discover. And then looking at the more recent granted Woolshed and Munderno project, which similarly is in close proximity to Honeymoon. So for those, yeah, again, that have been following the markets with Honeymoon coming online. So the Frome project, this is really exciting. For me, again, one of those projects that came out and had a look at the technical documentation, and it really stood out to me as an opportunity to discover something within these particular areas. When we have a look at this, we're coming out to these project areas and looking at dynamic drill programs. So again, with that technical knowledge that we bring in, we're not just setting up these programs just to be drilled out, come back, drill out. We're looking at that data before we get out there, consolidating that, providing ourselves options, and subsequently, as those programs are happening, we're making decisions throughout the program to actually put ourselves in the best stead to understand these systems and subsequently make discoveries. With this, probably some of the really interesting areas, or something that's really interesting about these areas, is that these mineral systems have already been found. So historic explorers have come out here and put a lot of work and financial investment into these projects. And where we see an advantage for us is that we're starting at a stage that's more brownfields as opposed to greenfields. So we're utilising that historic data and again, putting ourselves into the best opportunity to actually have some discoveries. And geologically, we share similar characteristics to those known deposits within that Frome area. Aruna prospect, we're looking at getting out here imminently. So this is another really encouraging area. Orano, one of the multinational uranium players in the nuclear cycle, held this ground previously. With respect to this, they didn't sterilise the area. We saw that we had the global financial crisis followed up by Fukushima, which meant that they took a step back, but as an advantage for us, what we actually see is that we've got a couple of hundred drill holes out in this area that we can feed back into the models. And again, that mineral system has been found. So we can use that technical knowledge and those increases in both technology and knowledge of these systems that have occurred over the last 10 years to feed back into our exploration activities and really put ourselves in a good position. Radium Hill South, I won't get onto too much detail, but a similar situation where there's 5 known prospects out here. A lot of historical work had been done within this particular area. People had pulled back in that 2014 period as well. Munderno Woolshed, similarly, another area in close proximity to known deposits, and a really good opportunity and reflective of the group. They put a lot of effort into building up this portfolio, and even in a competitive tenure got granted some of the lower Woolshed project more recently. So I'll go to the Northern Territory now. Here we're targeting unconformity style mineralisation. So these are the higher grade mineral systems that you see, similar to what we hear about over in Canada, and has been an area of production over time. So we're really excited about getting out here. This probably takes a little bit more time, and we've got that focus on South Australia, especially in the deposit style in South Australia, but still enthused to get out to Mount Douglas, where we've actually had some anomalous uranium at the surface. So yeah, with our Mount Douglas project, we're excited about this. With regards to the area out here, again, flying radiometric surveys allowing us to see evidence of potential uranium mineralisation at or near surface. So some follow-up work to be done here. Really excited to get out and start to look at these over the next 12 to 18 months on the ground. In terms of our corporate structure, this, again, has been really interesting. What we see this as is an opportunity to get on board early. So I've come on as a technical person into the CEO role. And what we can see here is with Simon Mitchell, one of our non-executive directors, he's been in the uranium industry for quite a period of time. So again, resonating with that focus on building a good team. So really good assets there. I should have touched on Mick. Mick's been with the business quite a period of time, been in the industry quite a while, so providing that really good support as a chairman. Todd Williams, a young fella that's got some really good background in uranium, again, providing that technical input to the team to help us push us along, and Richard as non-executive director and company secretary, who's been really good for the business. In summary, uranium, as we know, the market's grown over the last couple of years, and with that, what we've seen is a small drop back, but what we've got to consider is that long term. At the moment, uranium's around $90 a pound, or US $90 a pound, with an exchange rate of 66 cents, so we're looking at that $130, $140 a pound Australian for uranium. And there's this real long-term outlook that is going to stay at that price. So when you start to look at the projects in South Australia, which are sedimentary style uranium deposits, they're really low cost outputs, and you build your capex as you start to develop these deposits. So for us, coming in as an explorer, inevitably we want to discover something, and we've put ourselves in the best position to discover something. But if you're fortunate enough to discover something, we've got sustained or predicted sustained a uranium market that's at its performing quite highly, as well as projects that can have low capital costs inputs to actually get up to development. We talked about the technical team, very unique. Once again, we're looking at very unique skill sets that are being brought into the business. So being able to be effective and efficient with our exploration, and subsequently, if we find anything, with production, but really focusing on that exploration side of things. The tenure, again, is situated within first or tier one world-class systems and deposits. With South Australia, I didn't touch on it when we were there, but you see that there's these enriched rocks that surround the basin area, some of the hottest rocks in the world, and they shed into the basin and promote that potential for economic mineralisation. The prospectivity, so again, with that recent investment, we're following up on known mineral systems. We're not just going out and drilling holes for the sake of drilling holes. We're really hitting those targets early on, which provide that best opportunity for good intersects. And drilling, and more notably, looking at drilling commencing imminently. So hoping to get out there quite soon on our major projects.